World War II in Europe culminated in Germany's unconditional surrender on May 8, 1945, known as VE Day. This marked the end of a conflict that had ravaged the continent for 6 years, resulting in unprecedented destruction and loss of life. The road to victory was paved by key events, including the D-Day invasion, the liberation of occupied territories, and crucial strategic decisions made by Allied leaders. How did we get here? Our chronicle begins 11 months earlier, with the historic D-Day landings, the critical turning point of World War II that set the stage for the Allied advance into Nazi-occupied Europe. On June 6, 1944, Operation Overlord commenced, marking the largest amphibious invasion in history. Under the supreme command of General Dwight D. Eisenhower for the Allies and Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt for the Germans, over 156,000 Allied troops from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and other nations landed on 5 beachheads along the Normandy coast of France. The invasion force comprised of 5,000 ships and landing craft, supported by 11,000 aircraft, providing air cover and bombardment. The invasion was meticulously planned with the aim of breaching Hitler's Atlantic Wall and establishing a Western front. The beachheads were codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. American forces landed on Utah and Omaha, British forces on Gold and Sword, and Canadian forces on Juno. At Utah Beach, the 4th Infantry Division faced minimal resistance and quickly secured their objectives. Omaha Beach, however, saw the heaviest fighting, with the 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions encountering fierce German defenses and suffering approximately 2,400 casualties. British forces at Gold Beach faced moderate resistance and linked up with Canadian forces from Juno Beach, who overcame significant obstacles to secure their landing zone. Sword Bay saw the British 3rd Infantry Division make steady progress despite strong opposition, linking up with airborne units that had parachuted in earlier. By the end of June, Allied forces had secured all 5 beachheads and began pushing inland. The British and Canadians advanced towards Caen, while American forces moved towards Cherbourg. Throughout July and August, the Allies fought through the dense hedgerows of Normandy in a brutal battle of attrition. By mid-August, Allied forces had broken through German defenses in Normandy. The pivotal battles of St. Lo and the Falaise Pocket, led by General Omar Bradley, decimated German positions, paving the way for a rapid advance. The Allies pushed towards Paris, with the French 2nd Armored Division under General Philippe Leclerc and the U.S. 4th Infantry Division spearheading the liberation. On August 25, Paris was liberated after an uprising by the French resistance, supported by incoming Allied forces. The German commander of Paris, General Dietrich von Choltitz, defied Hitler's orders to destroy the city, surrendering instead. This victory was symbolic and strategic, marking the collapse of Nazi control in France. In the meantime, Operation Dragoon, launched on August 15, 1944, was the Allied invasion of southern France. It aimed to secure vital ports and facilitate a rapid advance into France, complementing the efforts in Normandy. Coordinated with Operation Overlord, Dragoon sought to relieve pressure on Allied forces in northern France by opening a second front. The invasion began under the command of General Alexander Patch of the U.S. 7th Army, along with French General Jean de Latreille de Tasigny leading the French 1st Army. The forces comprised American, British, French, and Canadian troops, with the primary landing zones along the Côte d'Azur. Key objectives included the ports of Marseille and Toulon. The initial landings, met with relatively light resistance, allowed the Allies to quickly establish a beachhead. American and French forces swiftly liberated Toulon and Marseille by the end of August, securing these crucial ports for logistical support. The rapid advance continued through Provence, with key battles fought at Montélimar and the Rhone Valley. The German forces, commanded by General Friedrich Weiss, struggled to mount effective resistance against the well-coordinated Allied assault. Allied troops pushed northward, overcoming German defensive positions in the Vosges Mountains. By mid-September, they had reached the Moselle River, where they linked up with forces advancing from Normandy. On September 17, Operation Market Garden was launched, an ambitious plan aimed at capturing key bridges in the Netherlands to establish a rapid northern route into Germany. The operation was spearheaded by Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery and involved the largest airborne assault in history, with over 35,000 troops from the British 1st Airborne Division, the US 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, and the Polish 1st Parachute Brigade. The strategic goal was to secure bridges across the Maas, Waal, and Rhine rivers, facilitating a swift advance into the rural industrial heartland. However, the operation faced formidable German forces under the command of Field Marshal Walter Model. These forces included the 9th and 10th SS Panzer Divisions, which had been underestimated by Allied intelligence. These well-equipped and experienced units offered fierce resistance, particularly at Arnhem. The critical bridge at Arnhem proved a bridge too far, with the British 1st Airborne Division facing encirclement and overwhelming German firepower, ultimately being forced to retreat. The failure of Operation Market Garden delayed the Allied advance and highlighted the risks of ambitious operations. It also underscored the need for a more cautious and coordinated approach in subsequent campaigns. On December 16, 1944, a surprise German counteroffensive in the Ardennes, led by Field Marshal Good von Rundstedt, was launched, aimed at splitting the Allied forces and capturing the vital Belgian port of Antwerp. The Germans amassed a force of over 200,000 troops, 1,000 tanks, and extensive artillery. The offensive created a bulge in the Allied lines, catching them off guard and initially making significant advances. However, the harsh winter conditions and staunch American resistance, particularly at Bastogne, slowed the German advance. The battle's significance lay in its depletion of German resources and manpower, which were already stretched thin. The Allies, under the command of General Dwight D. Eisenhower, quickly regrouped and launched a counteroffensive. By January 25, 1945, the Bulge was eliminated and German forces were pushed back. This battle marked the last major German offense of the war and significantly weakened their ability to resist the advancing Allied armies, paving the way for the final push into Germany. In March 1945, crossing the Rhine River marked a crucial step in the Allied invasion of Germany. The capture of the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen on March 7 was particularly significant. American forces led by General Courtney Hodges seized the bridge intact, allowing troops to establish a bridgehead on the eastern bank of the Rhine. This unexpected gain enabled the Allies to swiftly transport men and equipment across the river, bypassing what was expected to be a heavily fortified German defense. The successful crossing of the Rhine shattered the formidable Siegfried Line, Germany's last major line of defense on the Western Front. With the Rhine breached, Allied forces, including the US 1st and 3rd Armies and the British 2nd Army, advanced rapidly into the heart of Germany. This maneuver facilitated the encirclement and eventual surrender of numerous German divisions, accelerating the collapse of Nazi resistance. In January 1945, the Soviet Union launched the Vistula Order Offensive, a major military campaign on the Eastern Front. Under the command of Marshals Gregory Zhukov and Ian Konev, Soviet forces rapidly advanced from the Vistula River in Poland to the Oder River in Germany. This offensive resulted in the capture of Warsaw in January 17, 1945, liberating the Polish capital from Nazi control. As the Soviets pressed forward, they advanced through East Prussia, encountering fierce resistance but steadily overcoming German defenses. By March 1945, Soviet troops had reached the Oder River, just 70 kilometers from Berlin. The German forces, commanded by Colonel General Heinrich Himmler, struggled to halt the Soviet advance, but were ultimately unable to prevent the Red Army from reaching the outskirts of Berlin. Coordination between Western Allies and Soviet forces became crucial during this period. The Allies, having crossed the Rhine, and the Soviets, closing in from the east, effectively encircled Germany, leading to a strategic pincer movement. The Battle of Berlin, the final major offensive in the European theater, began in April 1945. Soviet forces, led by Marshals Gregory Zhukov and Ian Konev, launched a massive assault on the German capital. The city was defended by a mix of exhausted Wehrmacht units, Volkssturm militia, and Hitler Youth, all under the control of General Helmut Widling. Intense urban combat ensued, with Soviet troops fighting street by street to capture Berlin. Amidst the chaos, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his Führerbunker on April 30, 1945, appointing Grand Admiral Karl Brunitz as his successor. Hitler's death marked the collapse of Nazi leadership and morale. On May 2, 1945, Berlin's garrison surrendered to the Soviets, and on May 8, 1945, Germany unconditionally surrendered to the Allied forces, marking VE Day. The German surrender officially ended World War II in Europe, bringing relief to millions and setting the stage for post-war reconstruction and the reshaping of the geopolitical landscape. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications on future uploads. Your support helps us continue bringing you detailed historical content. Thank you for watching.